What's up, everybody? Flyer Live Podcast, episode 13. Here we are. I feel like I'm missing something, Mitch. I said that before I hit go. I still feel like I'm
Yeah.
missing something. But the good news is all the audio seems to be working. Our faces are on the screen. Streaming says we're streaming. So,
We're doing something
you
right.
know what? I think we're fine. So here
Yeah.
we are. Here we go. I'm Josh, by the way, or Jish, whatever you want to go with. A lot of people go with Jish. Doesn't matter to me. Mitch is here next to me. We are here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Normal Time, as we are right now. Maybe a couple minutes late. That is mostly my fault, but that'll be okay. We're chatting all things amateur golf. 13 episodes now, amateur golf only. And we'll do that forever until we decide we have to stop doing this. Hopefully, never. We do stories, info, tips, and tricks. We've done interviews with a handful of amateurs, all types of good stuff. We're competitive amateur golfers. We also play for fun, so we're kind of into everything. And we'll talk about everything. So if you're into that, consider following our X account or subscribing to our YouTube. We are live on both of those at this very second. We're looking for a community of amateur golfers that we can just hang out with and chat with and talk about golf because that's the only thing we like and care about. If you're in the chat live, by the way, I did mention we're live. Chat along, throw out some topics, say whatever the heck you want. Say hello, we'll say hello back. Ask questions, whatever. We'll chat back and love to have you guys be a part of the show. So, with that, Mitch, today, our idea, your idea, I shouldn't even say our idea. It's a great idea. Is to get into the weeds of numbers.
You love this stuff.
Which is my favorite thing of all time. I love numbers so much, especially in golf. You know, it's funny about this. So where we're gonna go, and you have all the details on this, so I'll give the floor to you in a second. Uh, of all the numbers things I know, the things that we're about to talk about today, I have actually never looked at. I've never cared about. I should care about more. Um, so this is going to be a little bit of a learning experience for me. Funny enough that like if there's a number thing out in golf, I probably know it or I've heard of it. And these numbers you're about to go over are things that I've never actually cared about before. So you want to you want to take it away? Let us know
Sure.
where we're headed.
Yeah. The crazy thing is I've never really thought that much about these numbers myself. And we're going to be on a learning experience together here.
Perfect.
Tonight. And I it came to mind Wednesday. I had the Masters practice rounds on, and they were sitting there and they were talking about one of the par fives. I think it might have been 15. I can't remember. I think it was one Scotty was doing, and they were talking about the layup option and how far away that players were going to try to lay up because of how firm those greens are, because of the trouble that comes into play, where the pin locations are.
Mm-hmm.
Where they want to lay up might be different based on all of those different factors because of how much spin they can put on the ball or how high and their descent angles are. So like how soft they can land the ball on the green. And I thought it might be an interesting topic to discuss tonight of how things like spin rates, apex, and descent angles affect the rollout and when we should try to focus on hitting a higher shot versus like a driving low spinner. So again, I've looked at these numbers a little bit, and what's interesting about them as we go through them is there's not as much disparity as I thought, except in apex height. Spin rates are relatively close. There's 1,000 or so RPM between like the average male handicap, that 10 to 20 handicap and a tour pro. And the descent angles are very similar from a 10 to 20 handicap and a tour pro. But The apex heights are like 25, 30 feet difference, which I found interesting. And I'm not exactly sure what the cause of that is and how it plays into their ability to stop the green. I'm assuming it's because they have more speed that they're able to, the ball spins and it gets higher, but the descent angle stays the same. So you would think that because the descent angle and spin rates are relatively close together, that rollout would be different or wouldn't be that much different. But my assumption is that due to the apex difference, the ball's landing even softer because it's had more time to slow down.
Yes. Yes.
And and
To
that's fascinating.
I'll double down on that, and I'm gonna be with you and say I don't know this for 100% sure, but what I know, having played with amateur golfers that are 20-ish handicaps and having excuse me, having played myself at like the 1-2-ish range. While I've watched you play at the 1-2-ish range, I played with other people that are very 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 good and other people in the middle. The difference between you and I, who can hit, let's just say, hit a wedge and it kind of pops up in the air and it lands in the green and it stops, or 8 or 9 irons even, and then like a 20 handicap that does it, is when it rolls out. One is that they generally aren't swinging it as fast, which you mentioned. So it should be common knowledge. Maybe it's not, but spin equals speed or speed equals spin. So if you can't put speed on the ball, your ball isn't going to spin. So that is part of it. Usually higher handicaps just don't swing it fast enough. The other part of that is, this again is just my opinion, but I'm relatively sure this is correct. So one is speed, and two is, call it technique. Obviously, if you're a higher handicap, your technique isn't as good. But also, what comes into play there is ball striking. So technique, I say technique, but what I really mean is ball striking and how amateurs are hitting the ball, or how higher handicaps hit it versus how lower handicaps hit it. You and I are striking the ball first most of the time, then ground contact. We're hitting it mostly flush. A lot of times, if we're not really that far off. Whereas a 20 handicap, for example, could hit it all over the place. Plus, with their swing speeds that are a little bit slower, they just don't contact the ball well enough to have, an apex height that's going to be at a place where it can kind of land and stop. It's at a place where it's going to land and just go. So
Mhm.
those are, from my experiences and kind of what I know about the golf swing, that is what you're seeing the differences as, between the higher handicaps and lower handicaps or pros.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. So, with that being said, I want to dive into a couple of numbers.
Let's do it.
Let's look at the lob wedges for the 10 to 20 handicaps and
Should I try and
the
share this? Let's see if, when my computer broke, all this broke, Mitch. So, fair
oh,
warning. I'm going to click this button for you and
and it
everybody
might
watching.
completely collapse.
I'm going to click this button, and if it's bad, if it doesn't work, then we're going to go back. But hold on. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Beautiful.
Nailed it.
Beautiful. Okay. We're good. All right. Let's do it. It's up on the screen.
Oh, oh, perfect. I'm done being frozen too. All right, so lob wedge. So, uh, fair warning, I grabbed all this stuff from ChatGPT. So I'm hoping that ChatGPT pulled the right information. So if it's wrong, blame TrackMan and ChatGPT. Uh, anyway, so lob wedge for the male 10 to 20 handicap. So spin rates are roughly 10,500 to 11,500. I'm assuming this is when they make good contact, ball first, and so on. And then their apex height is 75 to 85 feet with a descent angle of 65 to 70 feet. Now, before you scroll down, what do you think the low handicap spin rates, apex, and descent angles are based on what you're seeing there? for the lob
for
wedge.
lob wedges. I am guessing that the spin rates are. Boy, that seems really high. I'm guessing the spin rates are a touch lower. I'm guessing that the apex height is a touch lower, and I'm guessing the descent angle is a touch higher. That's my
Interesting.
guess.
Okay. Well, let's scroll down a little bit and see here. Look at that.
Was I
So,
right? No, I wasn't. I was
nope,
wrong.
you're wrong. So, what's interesting here is that the descent angle is still 65 to 70. The spin rates jump up a little bit from to 11,000 to 12,000 versus the 10,500 and 11,500. But I think the big difference here is the apex height, that 85 to 95. And I think it was what, 75 to 85? I can't
Mm-hmm.
see it anymore. But
Yeah, it was 75 to 85. Yep.
yeah. Yeah. So it jumps, everything kind of jumps up a little bit, but the descent angle stays the same.
This is interesting thing to me, and maybe this is a personal experience. So take that with a grain of salt. But as I've been working on wedges, and maybe this is just full swing, and
Yeah,
who
I
knows
would
exactly
assume
where the data
just
is
a
coming from.
full swing, not necessarily like a 60-yard pitch. I would think wherever your distance is for a full lob wedge. Is that like
Yeah,
100 yards or so? So probably from there.
yeah. Okay, so even still, as I've been working on my game, one issue that I have coming from somebody that taught themselves how to play for most of my abilities, so I have a lot of bad habits. One of my very bad habits is basically flipping my hands at the wedges, and my wedges go super high, which I believed, or still believe, is an issue that that a lot of high handicappers have. Is they aren't driving their hands and everything towards the ball or down at the ball. It's we're kind of flipping and trying to scoop it, so it's going much higher. So that was my thought, is that what I'm working on personally is um, trying to keep the ball lower. And I know watching pros that even on the full shots, their wedges they go like they're piercing, they're very low. So this is actually interesting that the better golfers actually hit it at the top, actually hit it a little higher, because I was thinking that just wedges, I'm just talking wedges at the moment. I was thinking that amateurs actually might be hitting wedges a little higher with a little less spin.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was that would be what would make them not be able to stop the ball as well. But the data
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say the same thing. So that's interesting. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah. Again, we still have to fully disclose that these numbers came from ChatGPT, and maybe they didn't pull them from the correct website. Maybe they didn't come from TrackMan or something like that. So they might be wrong. But okay, so now that we talked about that, between the low handicap and the higher handicaps, where do you think tour pros sit with a lob wedge?
Well, I'm guessing the trend continues. So I'm guessing that spin rate goes up. I'm guessing the apex height goes a little up, and I'm guessing the descent angle is probably pretty dang close to the same. So
Yep,
let's scroll and find out.
and
Spin
that
rate's
is
about the
exactly.
same,
Mhm,
apex way higher, and descent angle about the same.
mhm.
So that's very interesting. Very
Yep,
interesting to me.
and that's kind of like the trend throughout almost all of these clubs. The driver gets a little bit wonky because of trying to optimize spin and attack angle and stuff like that. Most tour pros, they swing it so fast that they can hit down on it almost and fire it off with more spin and keep more control, whereas most amateurs want to hit up because they need the distance, whereas you're swinging 125 miles an hour, it's not really a problem.
Yeah.
um, but it's a common theme throughout the entire bag that better players swing faster, their spin rates go up a little bit, and then because of that, they're swinging faster, spin rates are up, their apexes are higher, but the descent angles stay relatively similar. There's not a huge degree of change there. There might be 1 or 2 degrees here or there, especially on the longer irons, which I think is an important piece to talk about too, because I think all of us watch TV and we watch these tour pros. They hit a 3-wood from 270 yards. It hits on these super firm greens, and then it just stops. Like it rolls out maybe 20 feet. Whereas if we tried to hit a 3-wood from 230 yards, let's say, if that ball doesn't land like super soft, like you're hitting into the wind, like that ball is probably shooting off the green. If you're hitting in a green that is that firm, like
Yes.
we obviously play softer greens, so it doesn't roll out as much. But if we played on their greens, like it would just fire off like a rocket.
Yes. Yep. And that is it's I think it goes back to my same 2 points before we started. One of those is swing speed. Swing speed equals more spin, spin equals speed, speed equals spin, and then two is technique. And us idiots trying to hit 3 woods probably flush those things 1 out of 50 times, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the really really good players flush them a lot, so they're able to produce the results that those clubs are supposed to produce much easier and better than we can. So yeah, that is those were interesting. So let's go back to the top and let's look at driver because I'm interested in driver.
Mm-hmm.
Here we
So yeah,
are.
right.
Okay. So, and actually what I'm really interested in is the spin numbers. Again, because of what I know and kind of what I've had to work on myself is trying to get spin down, hit the ball a little higher and get the spin more down,
Mm-hmm.
because that produces longer drives, and we know that longer drives equals higher, lower scores, not higher
Mm-hmm.
scores, lower scores. Okay, so let's just quick hitter this and go through all three of them, unless you want to go into details on them.
No, let's quick hit it.
I want to quick hitter the driver because I'm interested in this. Okay, so 10 to 20 handicap spin rates are 25 to 20 2,500 to 3,000. Apex 80 to 100. So my thought now is as you get better, spin rates are going to be a little lower and Apex is going to be a little higher. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 25 to 30, 80 to 100. Okay, that makes sense. So now spin rates are down as a low handicap, 2,000 to 2,400, and the ball is going a little higher, 90 to 110. That is highly likely because again, where the technique gets a little better, your swing is definitely more optimized when your technique is better. You understand how to hit up on the ball a little bit better, so that helps your spin rates, and obviously when you're hitting it up, your apex is getting higher. So okay, that makes sense. And then I'm guessing that the pros are, oh, they kind of hit the middle. So the apex height is about the same, but they have a little bit higher spin rates.
Mm-hmm.
Although, so I do know, so this is interesting. I do know that there is a limit in spin rates that you can get to. So we obviously we want to hit up on the ball to limit our spin, and we want to hit it higher so it flies farther. But there is a limit to how low your spin goes. Um, I don't know exactly what that number is. I thought it was like in the low 2000s, maybe it's like 1900 or something. Where if you hit that number, it doesn't really matter how high or low you hit it. If you hit like 18, 1900 or less, uh, the ball actually doesn't have enough spin on it
It just drops out of the
to
sky.
do anything. Yeah, so it just kind of balloons and falls out of the sky. So maybe that is part of this, in that PGA Tour players are certainly able to dial in their numbers better. I'm guessing that 22, 23, 2,400 is like ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of us, two handicaps us, we probably overdo it on occasion, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing that, and that's probably where those averages are coming from.
So Yeah, and
Interesting. Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
well, what's kind of interesting between like the tour pros, I think it was Ryan Mulcahy who posted about Adam Scott, his TrackMan numbers with his driver. He was hitting down 1 degree and he was launching at like 8.5 degrees and his spin rates were like 2,900. But he can get away with that and he's doing it on purpose because it allows him to fire the ball off lower and he can control the accuracy a little bit better. But again, he can get away with it because he's swinging the club over 120 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So he loses, 15 yards of distance, but if it helps him gain control and get his dispersion down, that's worth it. Like he's still going to hit the ball over 300 yards at those speeds.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't need to Rory 340-yard bombs it.
Not all the time. Although, speaking of Adams, since you mentioned Adam Scott, I do recall at one point in his career recently, it's like maybe it was like 3, 4 years ago or so. He put a new shaft in his driver, and I don't remember the exact the Autoflex shaft, which is becoming really really popular in like mid handicappers, because it's just adding so much yardage, which is crazy. But he put Autoflex in, and he was like leading tour for a little bit of time in swing speed and ball speed. He's just absolutely mashing it. And I'm I'm guessing he wasn't hitting it as straight as he wanted to, so I think he ditched that. But he funny enough, you mentioned that he did chase some distance with equipment at one point, and it was working. So interesting. That's interesting stuff. So with all that being said, all those numbers and stuff, what you tell me, Mitch, what if I'm a 15 handicap, for example, why should I care about these numbers? What what should I do with them now that I have them, that I have access to them, I know what they are, and we'll throw this caveat in, I'm able to find out what mine personally are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I would think, especially as the clubs, as you get to the shorter clubs, the wedges, 9 iron and what your apex and spin rates are, and more importantly, how to control them, how to take speed off, how to hit it higher, how to hit it lower, and how to do those things is really critical when you're hitting into the green. This is when it becomes more about just golf intelligence, like understanding how these things impact the ball flight laws and how it's going to react when it hits the green. So, for instance, if you're hitting into a green and the pin is on a downslope, so the green is running away from you, let's say it's front to back. If you try to hit a low spinning shot from 60 yards and it lands on that downslope, it is going to shoot off like a rocket, probably 20 feet, and then it might check up, but it's already going to be so far past the hole, you kind of defeated the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So in an instance like that, the better play is to actually throw the ball higher with less spin, or if you can throw it higher with a bunch of spin, that's awesome too. But more often than not, you're going to end up with less spin when you throw it higher, unless obviously you're a tour pro and you can do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to throw it higher and then the ball lands softer and it's not going to take that first one or two big hops that skips it all the way through the back of the green. And then if you're hitting into a green that is rolling towards you, so it's front, let's say it's back to front, now you can hit that low spinning shot because it's going to take a smaller first hop. It might only jump 5 feet and then spin really hard and stop. So that's where knowing how spin rates, the apex, and the descent angles are going to impact how the ball reacts once it hits the green.
Yes. And then on top of that, if you're having troubles with those things, so let's say you have that shot, you're trying to hit the low spinning one and it's just not spinning as much as you think. Now you have two things to think about once your round is over. So that's just during your round, like knowing your numbers and how your ball reacts on the green based on how you swing is important while you're playing, because that's how you make sure that you hit the ball closer than you otherwise would if you didn't know that information. The other part of that then is how to improve it. And then the answer there is two different ways. The first way is with technique, as we mentioned at the very beginning. You might just not hit the ball good enough to create the numbers that need to be created.
You have to hit ball first when we're talking about spin and apex. Like
Yeah,
if you're hitting grass first, your spin rate's going to drop down to, from 11,000 all the way down to 6,000, and it's not really going to matter.
exactly. Yep. So that is one thing to think about. And if you don't hit the ball good enough, then go to the range and work on your ball striking. Hire a coach if you can afford to do that, or speak to a coach, or I hate saying go to YouTube, but find some ways to improve your technique so that you can hit the ball a little better, and then uh, you can create what needs to be created off your club to perform better. Your other option is club fitting. So you very well could be striking the ball fine. You could be a fine ball striker, and the spin just is kind of low and it just kind of runs out on you all the time. It could very well be just the clubs that you're using. Especially if you're using old wedges, the grooves are probably worn down. That is probably part of that. So we don't like to say buying new clubs equals you shoot better, because that's oftentimes not the case. But with wedges, that could be the case because your grooves could be worn down. If you play a lot, the grooves wear down really, really fast, especially if you play in like sandy parts of the country. Sand really wears down on wedge grooves. So that's part of that. You also could just be fit incorrectly, so you may be at a disadvantage because the clubs that you're using aren't fit for you, whether that be the actual shaft that you're using isn't fit for you, the actual club head that you're using isn't fit for you in terms of if it's a game improvement, super game improvement, player's distance, a blade, all those kinds of things. Depending on your technique or your skill level, a certain type of head on an iron or a driver or even a putter sometimes matters for you. And then it could be the length of the club could be a thing, and even sometimes the grip that you're using, and obviously the ball matters bigly. So
Mhm.
if you're just playing a ball you found out of the water, I wouldn't even it doesn't even matter. But literally the grips on your clubs could matter. If those are worn down, you're not getting a good enough grip. It's possible that you might have bigger hands or you might have weaker hands that could benefit from like a mid grip or a jumbo grip. So a lot of factors go into all of these numbers as well, other than just see ball, hit ball, good. There's a lot of other things too. So if you see these numbers and you have access to your numbers, or if you're just playing on the course and you're looking at a 80-yard shot and it's kind of on like an uphill slope. The green is kind of back to front, so you're like, dang, I could flight this thing low and kind of bounce it back there. I see the tour pros do this thing all the time. I put it on my back foot and just kind of skip it up there, and it stops. It hops a couple times and stops, and then yours hops a couple times and bounces over the green and into the water behind the hole. Maybe you think about. I mean, if you hit it good, maybe then you think about, is there something going on with the clubs, or maybe you put a bad swing on it. But if it happens all the time, then think about, maybe I have to work on my bag that I'm carrying around. So a lot
Mhm.
of there's a lot of good that comes from knowing numbers, and I know a lot of people hate numbers in golf. They hate math. They think math is stupid. Just go out there, see ball, hit ball, chase ball, hit ball again. But if you want to get better, knowing numbers about yourself and where people better than you are is going to be a really good start to improvement, because you have something to chase other than a number that's on your scorecard. For example, I want to
Mhm.
shoot 65 instead of 70. Well, great. I have no direction. I have to put a number to that somewhere else somehow. Otherwise, there's no direction. So,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, I don't think you said it, but clean your grooves. Like just
Yes.
before you hit the ball, clean your grooves because if there's a bunch of grass and dirt, like it's just not going to spin right. And interestingly, is it's going to affect the trajectory and your distance control too. And that's by just making sure everything is clean. The club can perform the way it's supposed to perform, assuming you actually hit the ball on a hit. But
Yes.
but yeah, all of those things matter. Every
Yes.
single one of them. And
Yes.
you don't necessarily need to like know your specific number. Like when I hit a full 56 degree, it has a 10,000 RPM, and my average peak apex is 95 feet. Like you don't need to know that, but you do need to understand how to keep it low and add more spin by back of the stance type of shot, and you're swing and you're hitting it hard so that it spins a lot, or more middle of the stance, you're swinging a little slower, maybe you have an extra club, and your trajectory is going up. So like, and you can learn that kind of stuff intuitively. But if you have a TrackMan, you know more, and then you can practice those types of shots in a simulator, so you understand how what you're doing is changing the spin rate and the apex, and then you can take that to the golf course. But yeah,
Yep.
you don't necessarily need to know specific numbers per se, but knowing how to change the numbers is important.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And one thing I'll add on top of that is I hear a lot of people that will say or tweet or whatever that they want less information in their head when they're playing golf. If they have too much information in their head, they suck at golf. And we are feeding people a lot of information to think about right now. And as we do a lot because we have a lot of information ourselves. Just want to note as we throw out and say, you should know these numbers, you should know these different swings, you should know all these different things. Uh, it's overwhelming at first, obviously, but just like anything you do, the more often you do it, the more it becomes second nature. So, just as a very, very easy example, the wind calculation that we talked about a month ago, probably. That's
Episode one, that might have been episode
it.
one.
Might have been. It might have been. It was a while ago, but people might be like, "Well, I don't want to do math on the golf course. That's too much for my brain. I'll get too tired." If you do that calculation enough, like I've done it a million times, you go out on the golf course. It's a 10-mile-an-hour wind. I have 130 yards. That means I have to take an extra. I have 13 more yards to my shot. I could just do that math really quick because I've done it a million times. If it's your first time and you're like, okay, what's that formula again? Oh, yeah, 10%. What's my yardage? Okay, 130. Okay, what's 130 plus 13? Oh, 143. Okay, now what's my 143 club? So if it's your first time doing that, then yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer. But the more you do it, the faster you're going to get at it. And then, now if you're in a spot where I am, for example, I see the number, I know the wind, I do the math really quick, I add it, I know what my 143 club is because I've hit it a million times. Bang, it takes a second. So it will take a little bit of time, and maybe you will shoot a couple bad scores because your brain is going through so many different things, but you're going through those growing pains a little bit so that you can be better down the road when there's other things that you're going to have to think about, and then you don't really need to think about the wind, or you don't really need to think about how to adjust your swing to add a little bit of spin on it or something. You just kind of know that, hey, the green looks like that, back of the stance, a little bit more speed, I'll get more spin. Those are just intuitive things to think about, but that will never happen if you aren't doing that a lot. So when people say, I don't want a whole lot of information in my head, fine, you shouldn't, but also you can't get a whole lot better unless you are actively thinking about things to improve so that they're just second nature down the road.
Yeah, I was just going to give the metaphor. It's kind of like you're driving your car. When you're going to someplace new, it can be a little nerve wracking because you've never been there before. You don't know the street layouts. You don't know where to park. Different things like that. But if you've done it 100 times, 200 times, you kind of get in those zones where you're driving for like 10 minutes, and then you like realize you have no idea
Yeah.
how you got to where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exactly like that. Like you've just done it so many times. Like you did all the right things. You just don't know how you got there, but you did all the things you were supposed to do because you've done it so many times before. It's just second nature at that point.
Yep, exactly, exactly. And another caveat here. This is all assuming that you listening, or me and you, is assuming that you are a person that wants to get better at golf.
That's key. Yeah.
If you don't care, please take this into account. If you don't care and you're just playing golf just for fun, we're amateur golfers here. We all play for fun. You don't care about getting better. You just kind of like going out there with your buddies. Then ignore everything. Just go out there and swing the club and have fun. Because the more you think about things that don't matter to you because you don't really care about getting better, then your enjoyment of golf goes down, which is a problem. Number one thing in golf, Mitch, golf is fun. We're supposed to be having fun. For a
It
lot of
always
people, for a lot of people, fun in golf is shooting low scores and getting better and trying to shoot lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. That's my goal. That's your goal. That's a lot of people's goals. Not everybody's goal though. So if you are a person that doesn't care, then don't care. Take the ball out of the lake with your ball finder that you have in your bag that you
giant
shouldn't.
fishing
Yeah,
line
the
thing.
big
Yeah.
the big fishing stick. Grab that ball
Yeah.
out of the lake. Put that thing on the ground. If it's behind a tree, make sure you kick that thing into the fairway first, and then hit the ball and chase it and hit it again. And if you lose that one in the water, go pick a different one up out of the water or the woods and just play golf and have fun. Don't the everything we said today.
It's all
Forget.
nonsense. Yeah,
For
don't worry about it.
forget if you don't care about getting better at golf, which you don't have to. That's not everybody's goal. I
Yeah.
have to make sure people anybody listening understands that golf is supposed to be fun. So we should have fun.
Golf is supposed to be fun. And I like having fun, but I also like getting better because that's the way I have fun. I want to see how good I can get at this game. And I don't know how good it will be, but it's better than where I am right now. And with more knowledge and understanding, it's easier to improve, at least for me. Some people it doesn't work that way. But if I can learn something and then take it and find a way to implement it, it helps me get better.
100%. Yep.
And I think there's a lot of people out there like that. At least I hope they do, and I'm not just some crazy weirdo, which I might be, but well, that's
Well,
different.
if you see the YouTube numbers, the for anybody, any golf YouTube numbers out there, golf YouTube is booming and has been booming basically since COVID. And a lot of that, well, I'd say a lot of it is because of people like like the Bob Does Sportses, or all those guys, where it's more entertainment than it is anything else. But also a lot of people forego like hiring a coach, and they will just go to YouTube because there is so much good information on YouTube
Mhm.
that they can. It's not all good, by the way, and it's not all helpful, but there's so much information out there that people can use to potentially get better. That yeah, I mean that will show you exactly how much people want to or think they should get better at golf. Because the golf, just look at golf YouTube itself. It's just booming. It's crazy town. So
Well,
I don't think you're crazy in thinking that most people are that way, but not everybody is. So
right. Well, okay, so that's all I had about that topic. So
okay,
let's switch gears to our tip of the week. I have
yes,
one,
great, good. I was
and
hoping
it
you
comes
would.
from my experience earlier this week.
Oh, okay, great. I
Or
love
was it?
this.
Yeah, it might have been earlier this week, late last week, whatever it was. So I posted my swing on Twitter, and I tagged my coach, where I'm okay in it, and then he looked at it, and I was just like, I'm losing everything with my driver to the right. It was bothering me. It was driving me insane. And I posted it. I'm like, I'm sure if he looks at this, he'll be able to see instantly. And I think he said it, you said it, and then I think I sent the video to LKD. Is that his name on Twitter?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And he
Luke
also
Curd
said it.
Dean. Yeah.
Everyone was like, you realize that your feet are pointing I think you said 4 fairways to the
Yeah,
right.
I think I said 2 fairways. Yeah, yeah.
So when I read those comments, I was like, huh, my feet are pointed 4 fairways to the right. So when I was at home, like I have like I have some like laminate and stuff where I can see straight lines.
Yeah.
So what I did was I did what I normally do in my setup. I stand with my feet close. I pretend to line up the club, and then I just like I stepped out to where I would try to hit the golf ball. What I realized is I do some like toe tapping as I'm stepping my feet out. Because what happens is my right foot just continues to drop back a little bit with every toe tap. So my left foot stays on the appropriate line, but my right foot keeps turning back. So then it shifts my whole body aiming to the right.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize I was doing that. Not at all. But it's what's happening. And then for me to hit the ball on my intended target, I have to pull it.
Oh
I
yeah.
have to find a way to pull it, which leads to pull cuts or big push fades. So, reason why I'm missing everything to right, because I'm aiming that way. So my tip is off that story is always bring an alignment stick, a golf club to lay on the ground next to your feet and to practice your alignment and your setup. Because sometimes it's something that you're doing when you're getting ready to hit the golf ball that you don't even realize that you're doing, like stepping 1 foot back and turning your entire target 50 yards in a direction you don't want it to be. I thought that was interesting.
Yes. Yep. I 100% agree. I used to have that issue as well. Uh, I had that issue so badly that in one of my lessons a couple years ago, my coach got as annoyed with me as it appeared Ryan was with you, and he went to his bag and took an alignment. It's an alignment stick that is branded with his all his golf, like his company logo, everything. It's his. It's branded for him. Took it out of his bag and put it in mine and said, "You use that now every time you go play or you go practice." So I still have that one in my bag right now. That is branded for somebody else, and it was so bad for me that he just gave me his so that I didn't even it was just in my bag forever. So I almost never now go to the range and not put that thing down.
Mhm.
Um, because I have a similar issue. My issue is the opposite of yours, actually. I tend to open up a lot, so I actually hit the ball left usually. My miss is left, and then trying to get it from going left to be moving more right is a problem, especially if you have to wipe across it, then you lose a whole lot of distance. At least pulling it, you're going to keep some distance the way you're doing it. Um, but for me, I have to wipe across it, I lose distance. It's a big problem. So funny enough, I have that same issue. But yes,
Mhm.
and if you are hitting, by the way, if you're hitting the ball bad on the golf course, and you're like, dang, I was aimed at the flag and the ball just keeps going way right, it may, like you said, it may not even have anything to do with how you're hitting the ball. It could just be where you're aimed. So
Mhm.
if you aren't aiming correctly when you step up to the ball, you basically have no shot. So you have set yourself up for failure before you even took the club back. So use
That's
an
true.
alignment stick, figure out what you have to do to make sure that you're lined up correctly on the range, and then that will be hopefully more second nature when you get onto the golf course. So
Yeah, and it's something that you have to practice a lot, and it's not something that is can only just be used for like lining up your feet, right? I know people, including myself, where my ball position when I line up, it can get really towards my back foot, even when I'm trying to keep it more up in front. Like I think it's like in the middle, but it's actually like a little back than that.
hmm
Sometimes it's almost on my like back foot, depending like if I'm hitting a wedge. Um, but use an alignment rod to just center your stance so that you actually know where your ball position is.
for
Because
sure.
sometimes, again, just like your feet, like you may not be aware that that's where it is. Like you think it's where like it's in the middle of your stance, but it's not. It's too far forward or too far back. Like just throw an alignment stick down and do it. And then, yeah, like you said, it starts to become second nature after a while. But I would caveat that with that tendency is almost always going to be there, and it's
Yep.
something that you
It
need
will come
to
back.
continuously drill. And if it's an alignment issue, like you said, on the course, obviously you can't pull an alignment stick and lay it down. That's illegal. You can't do that.
Hmm.
Um, but you can just look down at your feet
Yeah.
and just make sure that you're lined up that way. Because it's gonna feel really awkward. Like you're gonna feel way offline if you're notoriously bad for having a really closed stance or a really open stance. It's going to feel very uncomfortable, but you just have to drill it until it starts feeling more normal.
Yes. And I'll add on to the tip here along with that. Something that I do on the range that I think has been helpful for me. Hopefully could be helpful for other people. Is I always start my range sessions out with the alignment stick, and then towards the end, 10-ish balls left or so, I will either move myself away from the alignment stick, or I will just pick the alignment stick up and put it back in my bag and make sure that I'm trying to hit at a target that I had already hit at earlier in the session. So if, early on I was hitting 50 degrees, 50-degree wedges at a 100-yard flag, I'd just take a mental note of that I was doing that, and then at the end I will grab that exact same club but pull the alignment stick away, and then make sure that now I'm simulating myself on the course and lining it up and making sure that my the results of the balls that I'm hitting are the same or similar to what I was doing when I was using the alignment stick to line myself up. So that not only teaches me, if I hit one and I'm like, dang, I hit like three left of where I thought I should be. Now I have to rethink about, am I actually aimed correctly? Or, if I'm going out there and I can actually replicate it, then that actually gives me confidence when I go on the golf course that whatever my process is to line up, that my process is correct, and that I don't have to worry about, in general, I don't have to worry about my stance and ball position and all that stuff being wrong, because I have already tested that on the range, and I know that whatever my process is going to get me into about the same place or close to what it was, when I was using the alignment stick. So definitely use the alignment stick to kind of get the feel for your vision and everything. But then I also think you should practice on the range, pull it away and make sure that you're still getting the same results. Because if you're not, when you go to like you said, you can't go to the golf course and put an alignment stick down. So now you go to the golf course and you're lost. And you're like, I don't know what to do. If you've practiced that on the range and said, okay, this is what happened with the alignment stick, this is what happens when it's away, pair those two things together, now you have tools on the golf course to kind of fix it. So
Mhm.
that's my addition to your tip.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, like I said, we can sit here and say it all day, but it's just one of those things that you just kind of have to do. It's a quick, easy drill. Alignment sticks, they cost $10, maybe $15. Or you could just use a club. Like that's fine too. Like it does the same thing that the alignment stick does. But just do it before you go out on the course. Do it as you warm up. Whenever it is, just fit it in so that you just check your alignment to make sure it's right. If you look at any high class, like tour pro, high end amateur, uh, they're all doing something so stupidly basic that you would never even think like, well, I never do that. Like, why? Like they're always perfect. Like, why would they do that? Well, it's because they do it all the time that they're always so good with it. Whether
Yep.
it's their grip, whether it's their alignment, whether it's their ball position, anything of that nature, where their shoulders are pointing, like they're always doing like whatever their one tendency is that affects their swing the most. Like they're drilling that constantly. That's why Scotty Scheffler, he has that little club with his grip on it.
Yep.
If you see them, they have their alignment sticks down at the range. Like they're always working on that one thing just to keep it tuned. That's all it's for.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, if you go to a professional driving range, if you're lucky enough to be in an area where there's a golf tournament that they play, and not just pros, by the way, Corn Ferry Tour or any of the high level tours, if you go to the driving range there, The first thing they take out of their bags, usually when they put their bags down, is a glove. And the second thing they take out of their bag is an alignment stick before they touch anything else. So
Mhm.
um, take that for what it is. You rarely go to a pro driving range and not see an alignment stick on the ground. So you should have them or use them.
Mhm.
Anyways,
That's all I got.
we're nearing the end. You got anything else, Mitch?
I thing. I think it was an interesting conversation tonight between the spin rates, apex, and all that. I was fascinated by that.
Me
Um,
too. We usually try and do more teaching to other people here.
we're
I
learning
think
stuff.
yeah, I think we've kind of gotten into the we've both enjoyed sharing our expertise and our knowledge through all the things that we've gone through so far in 13 episodes. We've mostly been teaching, so it's interesting to learn some things ourselves today,
Mhm.
personally. So, all right. You want to close us out here, Mr. Close. We're
Oh,
bringing in the closer.
absolutely,
Love it.
absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, follow us on X, subscribe to our YouTube. Come hang out with us. We're here every night, not every night, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Normal Time. It's the only time zone that exists, according to Josh.
Yes. Well, it's the only one that matters. There are
Come
other
hang out.
there are other ones that exist, but shouldn't use them.
Nah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
we
could go into
appreciate
a
everyone's
long thing
support.
on that too.
We'll get some more guests on soon, and we'll have something new for you next week.
Yeah, and I'm playing outside. I thought I was playing
Neat.
outside for the first time a couple weeks ago. That never happened. It was like 20 degrees when we were supposed to tee off, and I don't do that anymore. So I'm playing outside for the first time on Saturday. You know what we should do? On air production meeting, Mitch. You know what we should do every Thursday. Now that we're probably gonna both be playing outside. I'm gonna play this weekend. I don't know if you are or not, but we're getting close to when we're both gonna be playing outside a lot. We should weekly have like a little segment at the beginning or the end where we just kind of go over our rounds and how we did or what we're working on. So maybe Thursday. I'm playing on Saturday. I We're going on a trip. I've gone on a We're on a big side tangent now, but you and I are going on a trip for a tournament in a couple months, and I declared in the group for that trip that if on Saturday I shoot over 80, I'm actually quitting golf. So actually, this podcast might be done on Sunday.
Perfect.
So
I don't know. I was at the range today, and I will tell you, I have never chunked so many wedges in the last 3 years that I did today. So I may be quitting golf too.
perfect, perfect.
Or I'll just go figure it out in the dirt. I'll just go hit a bunch of balls until I hit them better.
Yes, that's exactly right. Or I might be taking the bowling.
All
All right,
yeah, we'll do that, and we'll talk off air. We'll come up with some stuff. 'Cause I got some ideas for that too.
perfect. All right, all righty. We will see everybody next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Normal Time. Goodbye.